Good morning, everyone, and happy Pride Month. It's a true honor to stand with you today as we raise the Progress Pride flag, a flag that represents far more than just colors on a fabric. It represents lives, history, resistance, and hope. You know, every year when Pride Month comes around, I think about what it must have felt like to be one of those that came before us. The mostly black and brown trans folks out in Stonewall in 1969, fighting for their rights, not because they had the liberty to, they didn't have parade permits, they didn't have any authority to do so, but because they were simply tired of having to hide. And in today's political climate, I think that's more resonating than ever, and that we have to continue to show up and show out and continue to fight. Pride was born out of a protest, and still today, it remains both a celebration and a stand against injustice. As I stand before you as an openly queer council member, I know I didn't get here alone. This seat didn't just open up, it was made possible by many people that have come before me. Leaders like Scott Davis, who represented District 1, leaders like Carla Viviana Gonzalez, who also represented District 1, leaders like Anthony Rocha, who represented District 3, and I'm proud to continue to carry the legacy of being another openly queer council member representing District 1, which interestingly enough is the only city council seat that has continuously been represented by an openly queer individual for 3 consecutive terms in a row, and I think that's something to celebrate. Lastly, I'm going to close out with this to keep it very brief. I think pride is something personal, pride is also political, and pride is also something very powerful. So today, when we raise the Progress Pride flag, I want us to remember our past, protect the present, and imagine a future where everyone can live with safety, dignity, and joy, no matter who they are or who they love. So I want to thank you all for being here, thanking you all for standing here together, and thank you for being part of this community. We're proud, we're united, and know that together, we're quite frankly unstoppable. Happy Pride, everyone. So now I would like to welcome my council member colleagues and anyone else from the Epicenter and Salinas Valley Pride who would like to join us in raising the Progress Pride flag over on that way. Actually, we will have Eric Mora share a few words. Very briefly.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Mora, and I'm here on behalf of Salinas Valley Pride. I'm honored to be here today to celebrate this Pride flag raising ceremony. Just yesterday, I was talking with one of my colleagues from Monterey Peninsula Pride, who shared with me that they recently were given praise for one of Salinas Pride's programs, and I thought that was so funny because that happens to me all the time. After Monterey Peninsula Pride happens, I'll get so many text messages from people being like, "Great job on Pride," and I'll tell them that wasn't us, that was Monterey Pride, but I agree, it was a beautiful celebration. And then that's usually followed up by a question of why? Why are we 2 separate groups, right? Why not just have a Monterey County Pride? And I tell them that, these are all really valid questions, but it really speaks to the tension that we feel between unity and then recognizing our distinct identities. The simple answer for why we exist as a separate pride is because the Salinas Valley community deserves representation. Even within historically marginalized communities like the LGBTQ community, there's a tension to skew towards normative values, leading LGBTQ organizations to be overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male. While progress has been made to expand and be more inclusive, if we were to truly become one Monterey County Pride, you're just following the path of least resistance, likely all of the resources would end up on the peninsula, leaving our vibrant community very underrepresented and very unseen. Of course, these tensions are nothing new. There have always been fractions of our community that have struggled to gain the same level of acceptance and visibility as others. I personally find comfort in the writings of Audre Lorde, who was both a Black woman and a lesbian, and wrote extensively about the tension between her identities and the challenges of finding true representation within an overwhelmingly white LGBTQ community, an overwhelmingly white feminist movement, and an overwhelmingly male Black liberation movement. And it's so bittersweet to read her works because, on the one hand, I feel the comfort of being understood and the sadness that comes with realizing that we haven't made that much progress, right? I've been thinking a lot about intersectionality and differences ahead of Pride Month because so often these issues are viewed as secondary, especially during times when our community is under attack. When our LGBTQ community faces external pressures in the form of bigoted legislation and societal attitudes, there's this dangerous tendency to silence differences, viewing them as distractions from our core issues. This often comes with this kind of implied notion that true equity can only be pursued when there's more peace, when we have more resources, more money. My hope, though, is that this Pride Month, we reject that line of thinking. We simply cannot defer justice for any segment of our community. In fact, it is precisely in these moments of heightened danger that we must prioritize the safety and well-being of trans and non-binary people of color in communities like Salinas. They are disproportionately targeted and face the most severe consequences of discriminatory legislation and societal prejudice. We must be unafraid of calling out exactly who is most at danger. We must be vocal, clear, and unwavering in our advocacy to ensure that the unique threats faced by trans and non-binary people of color are not overlooked or downplayed. Their safety is not secondary. It's quite literally the reason why we exist as a separate Pride organization. Thank you so much, and happy Pride.